Hey, how are you guys? It is Harrison Barron from growth-generators.com. Now, in this video, I'm going to be covering pricing. After you guys went a little crazy on my last couple of videos about how much to actually charge, I wanted to give you guys a simple copy and paste. You can use it for your proposals because you're probably undercharging. Now, if you want to learn more about sales or anything like that, there's a waitlist down below to get in my course. I'm going to be covering everything on how you should charge, how much you should charge, along with overcoming objections, anything sales related that is going to help you get over the goalpost or the goal line to make more money and grow your MSP. It is going to be in that course. If you're looking for some more information or you just want some quick wins, there's also my free masterclass down below that is 5 ways on how to make significantly more money for your MSP. It has been proven over and over again to work really, really well, and the feedback that I've been getting is amazing. So let's dive into today's video. You're probably wondering how much to charge. Now, a lot of MSPs are way undercharging, and there's a couple reasons why that I've started to realize more than I ever thought possible. Believe it or not, I think the number one problem is lack of confidence because the salesperson or the business owner is afraid to charge money. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but tech people, being one of them, are typically afraid to deal with numbers. And the reason why I'm making this video is so that way you could say, hey, this is the number, and you know exactly how much it costs, and it removes the doubt and the worry from your mind. A lot of sales, especially price, it is purely a number. It is based on the value that you actually provide. Knowing how to sell is way more important than what you actually charge. What you charge helps you make revenue to continuously grow your business. That is going to be the main difference between all of this. My course covers how to sell and gives you much more accurate numbers on a lot of different areas. But a lot of companies have a really hard time with figuring out what to price or at least what to start it at. Now, the numbers that I'm giving you are ballparks, and I have it written here, and we're going to dive into my screen here in a second. But what you charge will vary slightly depending on where you are. If you're in Beverly Hills, you're going to be charging a lot more than somebody that is out in Gastonia, North Carolina, out by me. Smaller area, not as populated. Very different revenue scales. Or Long Island, which probably falls right in the middle of more suburban, more urban environments where people have a lot more money because it costs more money to live there. Those are going to be the factors that are going to change what this is. But I want to cover two. And the two that I'm going to be covering in this video are your monthly maintenance. That is from support, 24/7, 365, usually, and what should actually be included on there. The second is going to be servers. Now, I put only two in here because these two are the fundamental building blocks for everything else. Like I said, you have cabling, you have backup installation, you have backup batteries, you have managed services for Office 365, you have setup for Office 365, you might have migrations for Office. The list goes on and on. There's so many different areas, so many different ways to make money, but I wanted to give you a ballpark on what I've seen be the most efficient numbers possible. So let me share my screen here and we'll dive in and I'll tell you exactly how I got to these numbers. So number one is going to be your remote IT support. This is the bread and butter of every MSP. This is the money that keeps you running. Project money and all that, that is extra money. But this is the money that has to come in every single month to keep the doors open, keep the lights on, and keep people working. Pays for your software, pays for your hardware, all the good stuff that you need to run a business. This is exactly what it costs. Now, I'm putting up $100 to $300 because that is the range. I would say $100 is on the low side, but I do see MSPs selling a $100 service every single month. Now, how do you actually do that? Is it per user or per device? That's for you to decide. Like I said, this is ballparks, but there's other ways that you could start to charge and make additional money in here. Every person typically has at least 2, sometimes more than 2 devices. If you have a really aggressive employee, they might have a whole work setup, kind of like I do, at my home. On top of that, they might have an entire work setup at work. That's 2 computers that you have to provide service to. Now, that's your employee, but if you're selling to somebody, do you want to do it per user or do you want to do it per device? Some companies may give you pushback if you're charging between $100 and $300 per device. You might have to charge a little bit of a premium to include agents for all their devices, but you have to think, you have phones. They might have a tablet if they're out in the field. They might have multiple tablets. There's so many devices connected to the internet that you are going to have to manage. I used to work for car dealerships. The amount of personal devices, especially in management, they would have a tough book for when they're walking around the floor. They would have their own office chair. They would only need to connect to the internet, but sometimes they needed some more horsepower depending on what they were working on. They also had to have an entire separate workstation at home, whether that be a laptop or something more permanent like a desktop, where they're constantly hitting things on the internet. They're constantly sitting down. They're constantly working because they are typically aggressive workers. And that's fine. I've also seen this in law firms and many other areas, dentist office, doctor's offices. The list kind of goes on and on. It is not uncommon anymore for people to have more than one device. So you have to think about it when you're selling this. Do you want to charge per device or per user? I love charging per user because it kind of covers everything. And then I used to charge a little bit of a premium because I knew that people would have multiple devices on there. Now, what is actually included with this? I did the basics, 24/7 help desk support. Now, whether or not you do 365 or, 358, depending on holidays and whatnot, that's totally fine. Now, what should be included else in here? Proactive network monitoring and maintenance. This is so standard. And the reason why this is standard is because ConnectWise, Enable, every RMM solution out there is going to be able to give you this notice if something goes down immediately, if you have the right script or the right setup. So you are proactively doing it. Whether or not you actually have somebody sitting there waiting to see if it goes down, that's a totally different story. And there are programs that can do that, but you should have on every single one proactive. You are an outsourced IT company and you take a proactive approach. And it is important for you to understand that. So when you go sell customers and they say, oh my God, I'm spending $200 or $225 a month on your services. Yes, we take a very proactive approach. We're notified about all of these different areas. Next is going to be antivirus and endpoint security management. You have to have something. I like ESET. Other companies like different things. I'm not going to tell you what's right, what's wrong. I'm just going to give you based on my experience. ESET was great back in the day. Use what you want to use. I'm not saying that you have to use any of these things, but it should be built into your price. And you should have a basic cost. And I didn't put a cost in here because ConnectWise is $250 for 4 users. Enable is $100 for your first 100 computers. Like, it just varies. So I couldn't put a direct cost in here to say what it's going to cost you every single month. And you don't know, only you will know how much time your clients are going to take. If you go into an environment that is atrocious and an absolute disaster, you might want to charge a larger onboarding fee and keep your prices the same. Notice how I left out onboarding on here. Once again, in the course down below. You should have cloud infrastructure management. Should be pretty standard. That's just basically connecting to the internet. Pretty straightforward as far as that goes. IT security audits and compliance. This is huge. Now, I put this in here because not every company on the world is going to need some kind of audit or compliance, but if you have to, it's probably worth throwing in. And if you're working in the Alphabet Club with PCI, FINRA, HIPAA, the list goes on and on, you should have some level of understanding what's required, but including that, unless you want to make it a separate line item, which you can for X amount of dollars. You pay for management or your remote IT support and then your other areas. What I can tell you, because this is a pure value video, the more you can lump together, the better. Now, I talked about your hardware prices and putting in what products the customer's actually getting, which is great. But the more that you could beef up this section right here, the better off you're going to be when it comes down to negotiating the price, because the customer may give you pushback, may not give you pushback, but the more you can include in here, the more it justifies it. So if you're going to charge, maybe it's 10 computers and you know it's $500 or $1,000 in compliance, add that per machine. Yes, if somebody leaves, is it going to hurt a little bit? Yeah, but on the flip side of things, if somebody gets added, you're going to make a little bit more money. Keep that in mind. Something super important. Hardware, software procurement assistance. You are assisting them. So if they need to buy a printer, you can tell them what printer to buy. If you buy the printer, you mark it up. Not crazy, but you mark it up. It's just an assistance. Now, this is not for an MSSP. Your prices are going to be even higher than this. A managed solutions service provider. If you're an MSP, you are just assisting the customer and saying, hey, this is the hardware you're going to need, and this is the software you're going to need. And if you want us to install it, that's a project rate, but at least we can tell you, because sometimes they might not need something crazy. They might just say, hey, I need a switch for 2 basic computers for a toddler's room. I don't know, I'm making things up, right? You don't need to buy it for them and make the $4 markup you're going to make on it. You're better off just telling them what they need. You can become an affiliate of Amazon if you want. And we've had plenty of customers order off of Amazon. It's a simple no-brainer. Monthly performance reports, standard in almost every RMM. I haven't seen one that doesn't offer it. Tailor it, build it out, make sure it sends it to you first, review it, and send it over to your customer. Vendor management, this is huge. This should be included. If the customer has a specific software that they use and a problem, you should be including your vendor management in there. That means you're going to pick up the phone and call Dealer Socket when the dealership goes down, or Practice Panther when there's an issue. That is what part of what they're paying you for. It is very easy to do. You can have usually your lowest paid employee sit on the phone and wait for somebody to answer, and then they ask a handful of questions, and then they can pass it to the right person. Sometimes support takes a while, but you are the value add there. It prevents them from sitting there for hours and hours and hours, and you can have a very low paid employee, not saying underpay them, but the lowest person on the totem pole sit there and wait. When I first started out, I could not tell you how many times I would just sit there and wait on hold for somebody to answer. It was so easy. You can even have interns do this. Hey, when they ask these 5 questions and then let me know. It is so simple, so easy to do, and offers a huge benefit to the customer. On-site support, optional if needed. This is a gray area. You could put it in, you could not put it in. We used to offer unlimited on-site as long as they were within a certain radius of the office, and that was an additional X amount of dollars. We would have standard and premium. Premium would include that. Now, that depends on how far you have to travel, how many tolls you have to go through, where it is, how much gas you're using, what the wear and tear on the equipment is, how many hours you're actually going to include. These are all questions that you have to ask yourself. These are ballparks. If you do unlimited 24/7 and unlimited on-site, you are going to send somebody out. If somebody can't troubleshoot it remotely, you might be charging $350 or $400 a month. That's okay. If you're doing compliance too, you might be charging $500 or $600 a month per computer. And that's amazing because there's going to be a lot of meat in there to be had, so everyone gets to eat in the company. And quarterly business reviews. I love quarterly business reviews. If you're not doing quarterly business reviews, you are literally throwing away money because it is the biggest value add and gives you the option to sell tons of hardware, especially, and some software to the customer. Hey, you added on these 5 people. We probably need to upgrade this. We need to do this. This is what needs to happen. Super important. And the customer actually feels like they're getting a huge value because sometimes you're going to sit in that meeting and you're not going to need to sell them anything. And you're going to say, hey, look, everything looks good. We just wanted to go over, you've had this many computers. We did this, we did this, we did this. We answered this many tickets. We spent approximately this much time on it. We did this. We made sure all this happened. You just go through line by line on your reports, and they are smiling ear to ear because they feel so much better that somebody else is taking care of this. Now, we're going to get in the second part, which is server monitoring, management, and backup. I, once again, love grouping things together. The more you can group together, the better, because some people, and this has happened to me in the past, will try to chew you to, do I need that much money in backup? Do I need that much space in backup? You guys aren't doing anything unless something breaks. Do I need server management or monitoring? Don't you guys have a system? I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. I put $200 to $1,000 plus on there. If they have a really big server with a lot of storage, you will need to charge way more money on this. But keep in mind what they're paying for. You could either charge per gig, which I don't particularly love because then you have to go through accounting every single time. Charge an approximate. Hey, we know that we're going to need to spend at least 4 to 6 or maybe 8 hours on this per month. Maybe you have to build that out, and that's what your price range becomes. The other stuff that you need to make sure that you're adding in there, Do they need offsite storage? I would highly recommend selling offsite storage. Not only does it help drive up the price, but it also puts a lot of peace of mind in the customer's eyes. Backup scheduling, that's kind of one and done. If anything fails, script should let you know immediately, hey, something failed. We need to address it right away. Backup verification, once again, just making sure backups come up. Another script that runs to make sure that that happens. Data restoration. If something goes wrong, you need to make sure that you're not billing the client extra. This is like kicking somebody while they're down. I had gotten so much flack because when I first started out, we did not have the knowledge that I have now to go do these things. And we were charging shekels for what we were doing. And the problem is, after we went in and restored a server or restored from backup, whatever happened, I would have to send the bill, whether that's $1,000, $2,000, $5,000. It did not matter. The customer was already in a state of panic and unease. The last thing that they want to do is cut a check to the IT guy because they messed up. Build the, oh God, this is going wrong factor into the price and separate it over 12 months out of the year. It is the best thing you'll ever do and probably the best golden nugget you'll get in this entire thing. Versioning, retention policies. Once again, this is a one and done type thing. You're going to go in, you're going to have your team go in, they're going to set this up once, and it's going to be over with. And then just backup monitoring. Once again, a script. Backup monitoring, verification, they're the same thing, but it looks good in front of the customer. You want to put that in front of the customer. They need to see it. They need to know that you're taking care of everything. If crap hits the fan, you are the one that's going to come in, fix everything, and they don't have to see another bill. Unless, obviously, if you have to buy hardware. But for the most part, something probably went wrong. Maybe there was an attack. You're putting in the, oh my God, things went wrong factor in this price. And when you sell it like that. Hey, this includes if something terrible happens. An employee brings in a infested laptop and hooks it directly into the network cable. Even if it's on the second day that we come in, as long as we have a good backup, we'll get you up and running in X amount of time. However fast you can respond to it. But these are the main two bread and butter of your MSP, how much you should charge for each, approximately. Things will vary, but if you fall somewhere in those ranges, you're doing pretty good. There's probably room to make more money. If you want to make more money, learn how to make more money, that link for the waitlist is down below. If you're seeing this after August 1st, you will see probably a no longer waitlist. You'll just be given the opportunity to get it in the course. So I hope you guys found value in this. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Other than that, my name is Harrison Barron from Growth Generators. Hit that like, subscribe, and if you have a friend that wants to see us, share it out. I'll see you guys later. Bye.